Hi, welcome to Amanda's Book Corner. I'm Amanda, and this is my review of The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Córdova. So this is her first adult novel. Up to this point, she has pretty much exclusively written YA fantasies, at least under this name. She also writes romances under the name Zoe Castile, but that's different. As Zoraida Córdova, this is her first book that is written for an adult audience. And I was actually really excited that this one was chosen for Book of the Month. So that means I was able to read it this month, even though it doesn't come out until September. So while her other books are fantasy, The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina is more magical realism. And okay, I have to admit, I'm very new to the magical realism genre. I think I've only read a few books that really are magical realism. I think the first time I read it was in college. I think the book that I remember is Dreaming in Cuban. I feel like I read that, and I feel like that was magical realism if I remember correctly. But it was like 10 years ago. So yes, I'm older than I might look. But anyway, The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina I think it is magical realism. Although to me, it kind of felt more fantasy than magical realism, but that might just be my ignorance talking right there. But my understanding is that magical realism, usually the kind of fantastical elements, you're not really sure if they're happening or not sure they're happening in that way. Maybe it's just the character's perception of reality. So it's kind of like it could be real, but it could be not real kind of thing. With this one, it felt more real, which makes me think more fantasy. But again, I'm ignorant and new to the genre, so ignore me. But anyway, this book was definitely very different from anything I've ever read before. It's divided into 4 parts, and I think each of the 4 parts really is distinct, more so than other books that are divided into parts. I think this one, the parts really make sense to me. So the first part, besides getting to know a little bit about the title character, Orquídea, you're getting to know her family members as they're traveling to their hometown, Four Rivers, and I don't know where that is, but somewhere in the middle of the United States, I guess. But they're traveling to Four Rivers because Orquídea is about to die, or something. The book starts off normal enough, and it's actually pretty funny at the beginning. It has this random little anecdotes, or even just like a little paragraph here and there that's just hilarious. I like learning about Paul the intern. That's kind of funny. The way the book describes the Sullivans, hilarious. But you also get senses of deeper things. So for example, the character Ray, who is one of Orquídea's grandchildren, he's teenager, early 20s at this point. I like how he described his own father as being very like toxic masculinity, but he was the first person to recognize his son, Ray, as gay and accepted him for it immediately. So I thought that was really nice. But apart from like the humor and like the kind of more emotional moments, the first part becomes pretty chaotic as the whole family comes together in the home in Four Rivers, and it starts to get weirder and weirder and weirder as things go on. So they eventually make it inside the house where they find Orquídea, and she's dying, but dying kind of, in her case, looks like turning into a tree. So that's interesting. There's also like the family's all fighting about things, especially this one guy, Enrique, who is very upset about things. And there's all of these family secrets that apparently Orquídea is going to take with her to the grave, or in this case, to the tree. It just feels very chaotic and exciting, and just like kind of, you almost feel a little bit stressed about the scenes going on in this first part. And then things get really weird when certain characters have roses literally growing out of their body, like out of their forehead, out of their hand, out of their throat. Weird. This book got weirder and weirder as things went. And then it kind of reaches a certain climax at the end of part 1. I enjoyed all of part 1. Part 2, it kind of lost me a little bit, and I don't know, it kind of felt more like hazy and murky for a little while. It also fast forwards about 7 years, but we're starting to get more glimpses into Orquídea's past when she was younger, growing up in Ecuador. I didn't really like part 2 that much until the last 2 chapters, when a kind of sense of horror comes into it, and you start to feel new stakes coming in with, like, are they in danger? Who is following them? Is this person even a human? And so I really enjoyed that element of it. Part 3 kind of got back on track again. This is where we start to learn more about Orquídea's past. And this is, for me, this is where it got really interesting. I really enjoyed learning about Orquídea's past and how she was part of a circus, and how this first relationship she had was really turbulent, and how it led to everything that happened after that, including Orquídea's powers and the danger that she and her family are all in. And I just thought it was very interesting. But at the same time, her descendants in the 2010s, they're traveling to Ecuador, her home country, for the first time to finally get some answers, because, as I said, she was very secretive and she took those secrets with her in death. And it gets really exciting until the very explosive 4th and final part of the book, where all kinds of things happen. There's talking to the dead, there's talking to sea monsters, well, river monsters rather. There's a whole showdown at the end. It's very exciting. I will say, I think this book was interesting and it captured my attention and I liked a lot about it, but I think it was also very strange. I think it's the strangest and most unique book I've read, except for maybe House of Leaves, but I read that a long time ago when I was in college, and I need to reread that someday. But anyway, this book was very interesting and I liked it a lot, but I think I also maybe didn't completely understand it that much. I think this is kind of book where I'll continue thinking about it for a long time, and I might need to go back and reread it at some point. But I definitely thought it was interesting, and I think it definitely cemented my liking of Zoraida Córdova as an author. I've only read these 3 books by her, these 3 in a row that I just read this month, and I definitely want to continue reading more from her. So I really like this book. I thought it was very interesting, and I think that if you're someone who likes things that are a little bit left of center and a little bit completely unexpected and bizarre, this is a great book to dive into. I gave it 4 stars. It comes out in September, so I hope you check it out. And that wraps up my review. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell to get all of my latest videos. You can also find the links to read my full written review on my blog and on Goodreads in the description below. You'll also find the links for all my social channels. I'm currently on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'll be publishing reviews for all the books I read, so at least once or twice a week you'll see new videos on my channel. So keep checking back for more, and I hope to see you there.